Welcome back, y'all. We're so excited to be kicking off a new segment that will appear on What the Hype's YouTube. We're calling it the What the Hype Water Cooler, where we're going to be posting reaction videos to new episodes of shows that we're following as they drop. Today, we're going to be talking about the first 3 episodes of season 4 of The Boys. And here with me today are Andrew and Eric. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for joining me and for speed running the series, by the way, so that you could be here with me.
Whew, it was grueling. It was very difficult.
I mean, I could see you being somewhat serious about that because it can be heavy at times and
sure.
a little gory.
Yeah, no, quite enjoyable though. Getting caught up ever since we first started on What the Hype talking about The Boys with our Boys episode. I knew I would be hooked. I knew I would fall hard for it, and so here I am wanting more.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it was just watching so many episodes. They're all entertaining, so it wasn't like, oh, this is too heavy for me. Even though the reviews of season 4 on a whole, because the Prescott screeners, it looks like of the whole season, like people are saying it is pretty dark. So we might be in for more dark themes.
I wonder what dark for The Boys is.
Yeah.
I think with these episodes, the ones that have been released so far, it's getting a little too close to reality, maybe for some people. That's my guess.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good place for us to start with our reaction. Because, especially with a show like The Boys, we want to give all of y'all at home a place where you feel like you can have that water cooler talk about the latest episodes, because you probably don't feel like it's a good thing to talk about at work. It's probably not. So don't do that. Come here and talk to us about it.
Come here.
Let's talk about just the heavy-handed influence that our current political landscape is playing on this season in The Boys. Like, obviously, it has always taken shots at American exceptionalism and our ridiculous political system and how corrupt all of it is in tandem with private industry. But there's some pretty on the nose stuff that even happens in the first episode.
Yeah, I really think that I thought that the end of season 3, the incident with Homelander and sort of Ryan getting attacked by a water bottle and Homelander just straight up killing the guy was very reminiscent of I could go down to Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and be celebrated. Quote from a former president. So
Current
it's
felon.
good to they totally leaned into that, obviously, and also opening season 4 with this trial seemed very relevant because we just had a trial for that former guy.
Yeah, which is coincidental, I think, the timing, but maybe they also just were reading the tea leaves about the way Trump would be getting himself into trouble. But it's gotten very on the nose at this point in terms of them referencing what's going on present day. I mean, even down to, I guess this was in season 3, but the taco bowl joke. Vought has the best taco bowls.
Yeah.
Literally exactly what Trump did on Cinco de Mayo several years ago, saying Trump Tower has the best taco bowls.
Oh my God.
They are just unapologetic at this point, and I love it. And it also makes me wonder, like, how different would the show have been if Trump didn't ever take office? Like,
yeah.
But some of this is still happening in the comics, right, Laura? Because you've read the comics.
Yeah, but I would say at this point, the show has made some pretty significant changes. Again,
Okay.
I think that and I don't want to get into spoilery territory here. We'll save that for like the season 4 recap and season 5 predictions. I would say like the general universe is well represented by the show. But at this point, particularly in season 3, now getting into season 4, you're seeing some like fairly significant diversions from the source material. But I think the hot take for a lot of people who've read the comics and seen the show is that the show is actually better. and the show actually makes some changes that make the story better and more compelling. So
It's good
I
to
don't
know.
know. I think we can probably maybe guess how some things are going to go in season 5, which is going to be the last season. But
Yeah.
knowing the comics isn't necessarily a guarantee at this point that you're going to know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know.
So I guess I should ask, are the comics finished though? Like the storyline, everything
Yeah.
that was ever going to happen? Okay, I see. The biggest thing for me, season 4 starting out, is all of the mobs, all of sort of the galvanization of public groups against one another, and how these bad actors in the soups that we hate from Vought are, namely Homelander, are really using sort of public outcry and public outrage for their own political means. They're actually they're faking and staging, those deaths that happen at Homelander's trial aftermath,
Right.
specifically to incite rage and use people as a tool. So I would say that, and I know we got to mention to January 6th at some point, over these 3 episodes, like, it's very much intentional about to be like commentary on how people work and where we're at.
Yeah. And 100%. They are going, based on that, they put such an emphasis on January 6th. The first episode kicks off during the presidential election, which Singer and Newman win, and we'll probably come back to them in a little bit. But they placed great emphasis on saying the election is going to be certified on January 6th, which is so clear that they're setting up for their own boys universe version of January 6th that we will see.
Yeah.
So, look forward to a repeat of that nightmare.
Great. I'm still not over the last one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Still triggered.
To expand on this, there's been they're sowing discord, they're sowing doubt into the American people, thanks to Sage and all of her brilliance, being the smartest person on the planet. It's that, I think that's one of the dark things maybe that critics have been alluding to. It's very uncomfortable to see them working behind the scenes, sowing this doubt and creating this chaos themselves, orchestrating it, making people fight one another
unapologetically. Yeah, like the way that Homelander uses his top fans, essentially gets them together, kills them, and stages their bodies, is like, shows you he cares as much about his dearest followers, who would actually give up substantial parts of their lives for him, that he's just seeing how he can use them. That's the extent of how he feels. But then again, I don't think this is an exclusively season 4 thing. My favorite possible, I say favorite, but it's dark as hell, moments in all of the boys was in season 2 during the Stormfront sort of era. I think it was like episode 7 opens with a guy getting radicalized by the news headlines, and by Stormfront is talking about immigrants, Stormfront is talking about, she basically incites this guy to gun down his local bodega owner, a guy who knows him. And it's the first 3 or 4 minutes of that episode. It clearly details how a normal, like, good-ish American person is susceptible to this level of lies. We're just seeing that now on a grander scale. And the character of Sage, who I love from season 4, is like very clearly a few screws loose, but she's helping us understand a little bit more detail how this happens. But it's been going on for seasons, I think.
Yeah. And she's like ultimately the chess master here, because she's not just sowing discord amongst the American people, she's doing it amongst the Seven.
Yeah.
And Homelander doesn't get it yet. Like, right now, he's got too much ego on him, and he's definitely already starting to get pissed off with her telling him that he's dumb, basically. He can't take it, but he's so blinded by his own hubris that he like doesn't see what she's doing in his own house. So it's like very clear that Sage has a larger agenda here, is my prediction. It's not just about destabilizing America so the Supes can take over the government. I think she has personal stakes at play that we're going to learn about as the season goes on.
Well, I want to switch to talking about Homelander now, because I think the thing that's going on with him, he's getting increasingly desperate. He has gone on a journey. Big props to that actor, by the way. I think for showcasing just all of the ways, Anthony Starr, all of the ways in which Homelander is damaged. We don't, I think, love Homelander, but we can certainly sympathize, I think, with some of his struggles, his desire to be loved, his desire to have control. Once he gets everything he ever wanted, he's unsatisfied and he's reaching for more. And this is just, bringing in Sage into the Seven is another just desperate attempt to feel something, anything, I think. And so it's really important in context that, he's bringing all this upon the American people, but it's, he doesn't care about America. He's, again, just trying to feel something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he should try to date an octopus. That could help him.
I mean, Deep's figured it out. Deep's got it figured out. Deep and Ambrosius forever.
And that is so... Can we talk about how fucking sad that is for a second? Like...
Which part?
I mean, the whole thing, he keeps her in a closet and
that part is really sad.
Doesn't clean the tank and
and it's dark.
And all of it, like, it's because he doesn't want Homelander to know about her because, we all know what happened with Timothy. So like he's trying in his own way to protect her, but the upshot is he's just hurting her.
Yeah, she's so sad.
That's one of the clever things I think about The Boys in general. I was very horrified with the Deep at first. You'll recall on our intro episode too, I was like, this guy, what the and A-Train. And A-Train is a person I've done a complete 180 on. You see how much over the last couple seasons A-Train just hates himself. Absolutely hates himself. But the brilliant thing that The Boys does in general is shows how each member of the Seven is just terrified of Homelander. And as Homelander spirals and is totally spinning out, you see all of the other Seven members have to just grapple with it. And they can rarely, anyone associated with the Seven can barely escape with their lives. And few have.
Right. But it is nice to see some of them turning against him in private, behind his back, like A-Train.
I think it's been building towards this moment for a while now. Yeah. I mean, even just the way that we see sort of the upshot of the last couple of seasons of him sort of working to get back in the good graces of the Seven and sort of taking off more on like a Vought-centric Hollywood career. You're seeing that he's like filming that white savior movie with the Will Ferrell cameo.
That's so funny.
Totally random. You see that and you see he's like, this is total bullshit. I'm not actually helping anyone. And he gets called out by his own brother who was paralyzed by Blue Hawk. Right?
Well, so, that entire shit show of the Blue Hawk situation last season where A-Train changed his outfit. He was like, I'm progressive now and thinking about my roots. And then he just devastates a community center. I think you're right. It has been set up for him to really be on this kind of growth journey, redemption journey. But I also think, it wasn't A-Train also that got the files from that cult on Stormfront?
Yeah.
So now twice now, between really IDing Stormfront's long history and having that get leaked to the press, to saving these two men that were put up for the riots, murders. A-Train has really actually done maybe the most good out of all the Seven, besides Starlight, of course, for the people. Not that he cares about the people.
I love what you brought up there, Eric, about them sort of leaving breadcrumbs for this, because they've been doing this throughout the series. Like, even if we're talking about Butcher and Homelander and anyone else who has taken or who's been exposed to Compound V or taken Temp V, it's very clear that whether you were injected with Compound V as a baby or you've taken Temp V as an adult, the medical consequences for that are starting to become clear, and it's not just Butcher, but you've seen Homelander devolving into this psychosis
That's true.
over
Yeah.
the entire show.
Yeah.
You also saw, and this is a Gen V reference, but you definitely saw that there are superheroes present in Gen V who are starting to have serious medical complications as a result of having been injected with that and been on it their entire lives.
Mm.
So, with that in mind and thinking about Gen V now, I wanted to ask, because I know, Eric, you've watched it. Do we feel like Gen V actually is required viewing before season 4 of The Boys?
Because we're only 3 episodes in, I think it's a little tough. You do get a big shout out to the entire plot line of Gen V in like a virus that Newman has that gets mentioned and brought up. And so if you can just put up with the fact that Newman has a virus that's going to kill mostly all the soups, then you don't need to watch Gen V. But Gen V is my favorite season of The Boys so far.
It's so good.
It's really quite good. It's so much better than it has any need to be. And there's characters from The Boys that are showing up throughout the season, which keeps me going. But no, the Gen V does an even greater job, I think, of getting into some of these like superhero characters without that overarching arc of we have to save the government or something like that. And I just really love it for what it is. I hope we see some of those leads in The Boys this season. But
I have not seen Gen V yet, and I did watch season 4, so I'm just going to say no, it's not required viewing because I
there
watched
you go.
it,
Yeah.
and
Andrew
I
is
survived.
proof positive. You don't need to watch Gen V. Andrew, you should watch Gen V.
No, I'm going to.
You
It's
really
just
should.
I
It's
had.
so
I'm
good.
going to. It's just I haven't had time because I was
Yeah.
watching all of The Boys in recent
Yeah.
weeks.
But
No, I
it'll be
totally get
interesting. It'll be interesting in seeing in what ways the Gen V people, if there are any actors, like how they explain it. Because right now it's just been that throwaway line to that virus. And also the Will Ferrell character, Coach Brink, is actually the Brinklater character who's the principal of Godokun U. I say principal, it's probably something else. But the man in charge
Yeah.
at Godokun U, who throughout Gen V is shown to be sort of like the mentor figure for a lot of the 7, or at least 3 of the 7. And so it's cool because you see characters that are in this world are being at least referenced right now from Gen V.
Yeah. And I mean, there are a couple other references. At one point, Ashley thanks Homelander for saving her at Godolphin University.
Oh, okay.
And I will say, I don't want to get too far ahead here, but I will say, Eric, if you go back and rewatch the trailers for season 4 of The Boys, you may see some recognizable faces.
Oh, okay, I'm gonna do that.
I also want to talk about Butcher having hallucinations where he's talking to Becca, his deceased wife, who was killed by her, laserized son, Ryan. And she's basically there just goading him the entire time, saying, hey, you promised me you would take care of him.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that happened for Butcher was when he was put into that like temporary coma by the telepathic hero last season, wherein he is reliving his brother's death and some of the events of his childhood. He comes out of that. It's such an interesting relationship to follow the boys between Butcher and Huey specifically. And Huey had kind of been pointed to as being like a replacement little brother, somebody that keeps Butcher grounded. But there are many times throughout the series where Butcher just straight up puts Huey in danger. And I think following that sort of sequence where he's back in touch and having to relive like his father's abuse of his brother and Butcher has changed. And now that Becca, or like a spiritual version of Becca, is being hallucinated by him, that's his conscience. He does actually have one. And I think that we're actually still seeing a new or fresh note with Butcher. Butcher would very easily be boring by now if it weren't for each of these little sort of changes that's going on with him.
Yeah. And I mean, we even see this with how he kind of changes course with Ryan, right? Like originally he made Becca's cookie recipe and was
Right.
going to drug him with those cookies. But ultimately, when he made a connection with Ryan in that moment, he decided, nah, like, I'm not going to be a cunt. I'm going to throw these cookies away. And I mean,
Don't
that's
be a
growth
cunt.
for him, because 2 seasons ago, he would have totally drugged that kid.
Well,
Yeah.
and let's can we agree here that, so you said that Becca died because of Ryan's laser vision. That's technically true, but I would like to give
It wasn't
Ryan
his
a little.
fault.
It was Stormfront, essentially,
Yeah.
right? Because he was going for Stormfront, and Stormfront was like choking his mom and would have killed his mom if Ryan hadn't, shot the laser eyes. So Stormfront killed Becca, is what we'll say. Ryan is pure and being manipulated. He's clearly just a kid. Like, his mother's raising him to this point is so important and foundational to who he is as a person. I know the show likes to tease that he's going to be a little sociopath like Homelander is, especially, I think, was it the closing shot of season 3 where everyone's cheering on Homelander and then he himself kind of grins and it's like, oh shit. But I think we can see in season 4 so far, Ryan's just a kid. He wants what a kid wants. He wants to be loved. He doesn't want to hurt people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still worried how that is all going to pan out, though. It seems
Yeah.
like they're skating on thin ice there. Since we're getting towards the end here, just some broad stroke thoughts from me. Very happy that Frenchie has found a man. And
Yeah.
that'll
I
be
know.
interesting to follow,
That
even
was
though
hot.
it's twisty-turny.
But like,
Hope it all
what is
works
going
out.
on with him and Kimiko? Like, I don't have an answer to that at this point. But
What do you
I'm
mean?
just
What
like,
is
what the
going
fuck?
on? Like, you thought they were going to get together? Like,
Yeah,
why?
it was
Yeah.
heavily implied
But then,
throughout the entire show.
but now Kimiko, I think there was a scene where she was just like, I'm not interested, so go be with him, get dick or
Yeah.
whatever.
It just felt really abrupt.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Like-
what is going on here?
No complaints from
We'll
me.
see.
No, I find it quite touching that Frenchie has gotten himself into possibly even more trouble than ever before.
We did have a note here about the Amazon cross promotion and the Marvelous
Oh my
Mrs.
God.
Maisel stuff. That was
Oh my-
really that whole scene was very funny and gory, of course.
A
Yeah.
Maisel-themed bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also all the Amazon boxes sitting around when they were mocking up Ryan's first save,
Yeah.
how they were sort of scripting him out there and using the boxes as props for buildings in the street and stuff. That
Yeah.
it was very tongue-in-cheek and meta.
But the first few episodes are very good. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
It seems like everybody online has been enjoying the show more than ever, dare I say. So I think they knocked the first 3 episodes out of the park, and I can't wait to see the remaining 5.
That's
Same.
true for me. Yeah, I think this is the best season so far. The stakes are really high. They got really high really quickly, and I think the cast or the characters are now at a point where I think each of them, no matter what side they're on, you kind of care about them at this point.
Yeah.
in a really good way. So
Yeah.
it's good stuff.
Agreed.
Oh, Laura, your note here. So one
yeah.
question to wrap it up. What's the most disgusting part of the first 3 episodes for each of us so far? Because, the boys can't resist doing something disgusting. Laura, I love your one that you have listed here.
Yeah, I said Homelander's pube jar.
That was so friggin'
You don't keep a jar of your grays, Laura?
No, I
Oh.
didn't know that was a thing people monitored. So
I mean, my first gray was a nose hair, and I have it in a bag.
Okay, well, see, Eric, I'm relieved that you clarified what it was, because I thought we were about to get very, very personal.
No.
And I was going to say, this is not millennial after
Well,
dark.
no, but it's your first gray, right? You kind of like, oh, I'm turning gray.
It's not just his first gray, it's his 7th, 8th gray in that
yeah.
damn jar.
Yeah.
He's,
Okay.
he's saving all of his gray pubes in a jar and having it in this weird shrine with Stormfront's Nazi wedding photo and Madeline Stillwell's breast milk container.
For
Maybe
me,
that's
Weird.
what's gross about it. Otherwise, he's mortal, and it's a reminder that he's mortal. There's very few of those.
For
Yeah.
me, the most disgusting part was the on ice rehearsals and the people's fingers get skated over. That's like, and the
Ooh.
reason why it freaked me out so much is that's like a worst fear of mine. That's why I don't want to
Yeah.
ever go ice skating, because I'm gonna
That's
fall,
very specific.
my hands are gonna be down, and then I'm gonna lose my
That's
fingers.
exactly. You're right, Andrew. The show does have a way of showing people die in the most horrible ways that
Yeah.
could be possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for, so one of the most touching scenes in the whole show was last season when Victoria Newman is giving her daughter V to protect her. It's this amazing motherly influence scene where we're like, oh my god, this is great. Victoria's humane and cares about people. Well, it cut to this season where we see what her daughter became and what her daughter's special power is. And I was not prepared for her face to open up and have 4 snakes kind of come out and start killing people and attacking people with her face. I was like,
yeah.
oh
Yeah.
shit. She's like being groomed to be a monster, just like sort of the darkest danger, the worst devils of Victoria's nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that was gross.
Obviously, there's so much more that we could touch on from these first 3 episodes. This is just a reaction video. Definitely be sure to tune in with us weekly for reaction videos to the 5 next episodes. They do drop on Thursdays on Amazon Prime, and we will be doing a season 4 wrap and season 5 predictions episode that we'll have here on the channel, but also on our podcast feed. So be sure to check that out. And we also, in case you're looking for more content, have a Bridgerton reaction video that Pam and I recorded together that is up now. So be sure to head on over and check that out too. Because again, reminder, the gods came together and said, let's launch season 3.5 of Bridgerton and season 4 of The Boys on the same day, because we needed another Barbenheimer moment, and we got it, and it was perfect.
Yeah.
Here's a listener question for folks to reply to us and respond. During the TruthCon, I happened to see a poster. There's so many Easter eggs in there, by the way, worth searching for.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
One of them says, Stormfront is still alive. We didn't see her die on screen, so I want to know what people's thoughts are as to whether or not there could be some truth there.
No. Nothing
You don't
at
think-
TruthCon is true.
I
some
want
of it
to
is, though.
believe.
Some of it is. Some of it, we've seen like the machinations behind the scenes of some of those like wild posters that actually happened. So I don't know. I think that one might prove to be true.
I mean, the CIA does have Soldier Boy right now, so that one is true.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
So I think Stormfront's still alive. I'm not a Stormfronter or whatever, but I think that she's not done because it's harder to kill a Nazi than you would expect.
Yeah, unfortunately, they tend to get away. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in for this reaction video with us this week. Again, like I said, keep an eye out for future reaction vids for episodes of The Boys in the weeks ahead. And be sure to head on over to the main show, which is being released through the MuggleCast feed on Fridays, but also being shared here on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning in, y'all. Thanks, Andrew and Eric, for joining me. I'm so excited that y'all love this show as much as I do.
It's going to be great.
Bye, y'all.
Bye,
Bye.
y'all.